Pride and Prejudice is a story about misunderstanding, growth, and love. Next, we will tell the story through the heroine's monologue, her life, her prejudices and misunderstandings, and how she learned to understand others and see people's true hearts. Please join me as we step into her world and feel her story. Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Bennett. I was born into a family that was not wealthy. There are 5 daughters in my family and no sons. In our time, if a family had no son, the family estate would be inherited by a distant male relative. So my mother's greatest wish every day was for us daughters to find good husbands. She often worried about marriage and often shouted about trivial things, but I knew she did it for us. In contrast, my father was quiet and humorous, always sitting in his study. He liked me because he said I was clever, thoughtful, and loved reading. This was the environment I grew up in, noisy, interesting, and full of contradictions. One day, a wealthy and friendly young gentleman, Mr. Bingley, rented the nearby Netherfield Park. Not long after, he hosted a grand ball. My sisters and I were all excited because it might be a chance to change our fate. That night, I saw Mr. Darcy for the first time. He was tall and quiet and looked very proud. He hardly spoke to anyone and did not like to dance. At first, I had no opinion about him, but later I overheard him saying to his friend, "She is tolerable, I suppose, but not handsome enough to tempt me." At that moment, I felt he was very rude and very arrogant. From that day on, I was prejudiced against him. Later, I met a militia officer, Mr. Wickham. He was friendly, charming, good at conversation, and very polite to me. He told me he had been treated unfairly by Mr. Darcy in the past. At that time, I believed his words, and so I disliked Darcy even more. I did not know the truth then. My sister Jane was gentle and kind. She and Mr. Bingley liked each other. However, suddenly, Bingley left our town. Jane was sad but unwilling to say so. I certainly believed that Darcy was responsible. I became even more convinced that he was cold and selfish. Later, Mr. Darcy confessed his love to me. He told me that although my family background was low and we had no fortune, he still wished to marry me. When I heard this, I was very angry. I felt insulted. He had hurt my sister, hurt Wickham, and even judged my family with a superior attitude. I rejected him. That was our first real quarrel, and I firmly believed my judgment was correct. The next day, he gave me a letter. In the letter, he explained 2 things. First, he did not harm Wickham. The one at fault was Wickham himself. Wickham had received help from Darcy's family when he was young, but instead of working hard, he gambled, got into debt, and wasted every opportunity. More seriously, he once tried to approach Darcy's younger sister in order to take advantage of her fortune. I had known none of this before. Second, about persuading Bingley to leave. He admitted he did persuade Bingley to go, but his intention was not malicious. He protected Bingley like a younger brother and worried that Bingley was too easily influenced by others, and Jane was so gentle and reserved that to outsiders it seemed she did not like Bingley that much. In addition, our family was sometimes too loud and lacked propriety. He feared that if Bingley married impulsively, he would regret it later. His actions were not necessarily right, but his motives were not to harm us. This letter made me calm down for the first time and reflect for the first time. It turned out I did not understand things as well as I thought. I thought myself clever, yet I was fooled by appearances. Because of prejudice, I failed to see the truth. I started to see Mr. Darcy differently. After some time, I went to visit my relatives. When I met Darcy again, he was completely different. He had become gentle, polite, and respectful. He tried to help us and take care of us, which surprised me. We gradually began to talk calmly and understand each other. Suddenly, one day, I received news that my younger sister, Lydia, had eloped with Wickham. This was something that could ruin our entire family's reputation. When my family was in panic, Mr. Darcy quietly took action. He went alone to London to search for Lydia and Wickham. It was extremely difficult because Wickham was deeply in debt and kept changing his lodgings. Darcy spent several days visiting countless people, even going to improper places, just to find them. Finally, he found them in a cheap inn. Lydia had no idea how serious the situation was, and only thought everything felt romantic. Wickham, however, had no intention of taking responsibility and planned to leave her behind. Darcy realized that if he didn't act, Lydia's life would be ruined, so he negotiated with Wickham. He paid off all of Wickham's gambling debts and gave him a large sum of money so he would marry Lydia. Moreover, he secured a new military position for Wickham so they could start life respectably. Lydia knew nothing about this. Wickham accepted the help only because he saw Darcy's determination and influence. Darcy could have told me about all this and earned my gratitude, but he did not. He asked everyone to keep it a secret because he did not want me to feel indebted. He silently bore everything simply because he cared for me and did not want me to worry about my sister. My family thought it was my uncle and aunt who had solved everything, and so did I. Until weeks later, my aunt finally could not hold it in and told me the truth. She said that without Mr. Darcy, Lydia's matter could never have been resolved. At that moment, I was deeply shaken. I realized that he had not only helped Lydia, but had protected our entire family and my dignity. His kindness, perseverance, and silent devotion were far deeper and truer than I had ever seen. Later, we met again. There was gentleness in Darcy's eyes. He told me he still loved me and hoped I could accept him. Thinking back on everything, from our misunderstandings and conflicts to seeing his kindness, responsibility, and sincerity, my heart slowly changed. In the end, I accepted his love. We were married. My sister Jane also married Mr. Bingley. Our family finally welcomed a happy ending. The story ends here. It is not a glamorous tale, but the journey of an ordinary girl learning to grow, understand, forgive, and love. Looking back on Elizabeth's life, we see Darcy's pride blinded him from seeing her, and her prejudice blinded her from seeing him. Only by letting go of bias can we truly understand others and see their hearts. Every heart deserves to be treated gently. Every relationship requires understanding and patience.